Clinical trials are one of the most challenging types of research that can be done by any doctor. So the types of clinical data we usually acquire from our patients include the case report, a case series, a cohort, a case control kind of trial, and last but not least, the randomized control trial. A case report is the data obtained from one patient. It's probably a unique finding and it's very rarely repeatable. The next is a case series, which is taken from a group of patients from one doctor. It may or may not be reproducible, and many times it's made out of old data, and it is not recorded systematically. So the next is a cohort trial where we follow up one group for a long period of time and we try to see what is the finding you get out of it. So it is good in that you're starting with a group before the disease starts or before the treatment starts and you're following them up for a longer period of time. And last but not least is your case control trial. A case control trial is you involve two groups. One would be a case group and a control group, and you'd follow them for a long period of time. Again, your treatment or the study trial starts prospectively, so you have full control over the study design. Last but not least is a randomized control trial. The randomized control trial is very unique in that it's a case control trial in which you cannot choose, or the researchers do not choose which patient goes to which group to avoid selection bias. For example, if you have three groups of patients and you want to recruit them for your study, in a normal scenario, the doctor would be tempted to use a milder patient for their new drug and a much more advanced disease for the old drug to prove that this new drug is working well. But in a randomized control trial, you have no control over what you're choosing. You could either randomize by the flip of a coin or by using envelopes or using a computer generated randomized list, etc. So there is no bias, it's repeatable and it's highly systematically recorded. So it is one of the best kind of studies out there. So we saw the types of clinical trials. Now we have to look at the phases in clinical trials. Clinical trials could have up to 5 phases. The first is a preclinical phase, that is before it enters the clinical phase. It's usually a lab study or an animal study. You just want to see if your idea is working. Once you prove that, then you go to the safety level evaluation. That's a phase 0. So for this, you'll need something like a very small group of people. You just try the drug on, and once it works, you go to a phase 1 trial, where again you're doing a phase safety profile, but this time you're working on 5 to 10 people. After this, phase 2, phase 3 and phase 4, all of them focus on efficacy, and by then you're beginning to refine on your dosage. How much is required, how many times a day, and so on. Some researchers may skip phase 3 and move directly to phase 4 trial. Basically, the difference between phase 3 and phase 4 is just the size of the trial and the number of subgroups and drug combinations you're evaluating. I think as a researcher, it's a good idea for everyone to try out their new idea of research and do a brainstorming session towards walk them through how their research will probably evolve over multiple phases of a clinical trial. And with that, we can conclude on the types of clinical trials. Thank you.